Hey everybody, welcome to Cold Ones, where we crack them open. Today, we're talking about Bezier curves in motion graphics. So, Sam, what do you know about Bezier?
I'm a little new to motion graphics. I've done mostly like titles and stuff like that. The little bit I do know about Bezier graphs is that they're French, much like this delicious cold beverage we're drinking right now. But I know they're French. And I know that they're curves that you use for motion graphics to make things come in or out smoothly, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I on the right?
Yeah, so Bezier is like when you have an animated asset, and when you put a Bezier on the speed of the animation, it sort of describes a velocity of it speeding and slowing down.
Okay.
So it makes it feel more grounded when something's moving, and it looks much nicer than just having something move and then suddenly stop at a constant speed.
Right.
So the Bezier curve is the speed of it, and it's gradual speeding, slowing down.
Okay, so kind of like a bell curve.
Yeah. And the Bezier curve is when you open it in After Effects.
Okay.
And you're drawing the curve of the speed.
Now, is After Effects the only
I'm sure it's
one
not.
that uses Bezier curves?
Yeah, I mean, there's curves in like Premiere, and I'm positive that there are the other motion graphics programs that would use a Bezier curve, but personally, my knowledge doesn't extend beyond After Effects for the Bezier curve.
How old is the Bezier curve? Where does it come from?
Well,
Ancient man.
It was Perrier Bezier. He was an engineer in the 1960s. However, there is the town of Bezier in France that has the river Orbe running through it. And my theory is that the curves of the river, much like how there was like that 1 kilogram way back that like based the whole metric system off of it. It's like that there was a curve in the river that maybe like construed the mathematics of a Bezier curve from it.
Okay, so like maybe
I think Perrier
the river
Bezier
is a
was
real one.
Oh, the river's the real curve?
Yeah, it's like a natural Bezier curve.
Yeah. And then Perrier Bezier was just sort of like the front man for whatever was going on there.
Oh, so he has the same last name as this river does.
Town. Yeah, so he was the perfect fall guy.
A little bit of
really.
conspiracy going on here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's...
Either way, you'll make your motion graphics animators pilgrimage to the birthplace of Bezier or the river Bezier.
That'd be cool. That'd be a cool pilgrimage.
So when I'm doing a motion graphics project, I'll like decide on an influence for Bezier. So the influence of the curve is a percentage, and that affects like how sudden the velocity change is.
And the percentages happen at the curves, not the... Okay.
So the percentage is how much is being influenced at the curve. And generally, like you'd think going from 50 to 100, because 50 to 100 is just the 1 keyframe, that would be affecting the curve. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like how much it's pushing. So 50 to 100 is sort of the range.
So now are there standards for percentages? Like, is there like in every man's percentage? Hey, 60%, we all do it. Like,
you'd think that it would go like just on a sliding scale from 50 to 100, but like when you're looking at them, each sort of increment has its own unique personality. So I think that the everyman's influence is definitely 60.
60, okay.
You'd think it'd be 50, but it's not. 60, it just seems straightforward. It's kind of plain, but it really gets the job done. But then when you go down to 50, that's really just like where you're even trying. It's really basic.
Oh.
Yeah. And then
for 50?
50? Yeah. 50 is a little weird.
I think I've been using 50.
Oh, yeah. Got to upgrade to something like
basic.
90.
Brittany.
Ooh. 90 is a good favorite. It takes a lot of cajones to pull off a 90. Yeah. And then there's like 80. 80 is a little bit, I think 80 comes off as pretentious, like, ooh, you know.
What do most corporate videos use?
That's a good question.
Does Star Wars, does its intro title use a Bezier? Or is that just
It does not.
one?
That's just the perspective.
Okay, that's just one speed.
That makes it slow down. Yes,
Okay.
that's one speed. But then I think that once you get into 70, within 70, there's a whole bunch of personalities just there. So like
70's
71,
like a weird...
72, 73, like those are all unique.
Okay.
And like those are sort of hard to define.
So 70 gets a little ambiguous, a little
It does.
confused.
So is Bezier a design trend? What do you think?
Yeah, probably. If
Yeah.
especially if you're mixing around with different increments in each one, I think probably certain ones have been or will become trendy or are trendy at different times.
Mm.
So maybe back in the day, what now 50, is now, like you were saying, is basic, but maybe 50 back then, back when
Oh, I see. what you mean.
originally,
Yeah.
or like back in the 20s or something like that, Bezier was more, whenever motion graphics first came around, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
maybe it was more standard in like 80s, 90s era titles
Yeah.
and stuff, motion graphics and stuff like that. Like I wonder what Shrek used most of the time in its
Mm.
motion graphics.
They'd be like doing the math by hand.
Yeah, I wonder if
instead of
like
on the computer.
DreamWorks and Pixar use different curves.
Yeah, they have
for their
different
titles.
favorites. I'm sure that
Yeah, like they have different,
if you really get into it and you like ask, hey, what was the influence for these? They're
Right.
Like it was 60, my dude.
we got to find the influencer or whoever's the.
But is Bezier
influence.
speed itself a design trend? Because I don't think so. It's
Bezier
sort of like
speed.
it represents like the velocity of a physical object and Newton's laws of motion. So
Probably not.
yeah, I mean that's what can't go out of style is physics.
Right.
Oh, but I'm bored of these physics and velocity and easy ease. When a season 2 dropping of physics, it's like it doesn't happen. They cry, desperately searching for a spark of life. There is no physics 2, Sam. Bezier speed motion graphics design is here as long as the universe is here. Some well-traveled master chefs lament running out of new cultures whose cuisine they can experience brand new for the first time. We're running out of obscure cultures' flavors to rip off and open up pricey restaurants for in New York. There's nothing new for Newton to give you, and literally find a budget of a mere $72,000 that could simulate every atom of existence on a Palm Pilot with null objects and ray tracing to prove it. You will never see a new horizon, and you will decay where you stand. Accept this, and you may ascend to the next level. This is the email I sent when the client said they wanted revisions. Do you think I lost the account? From Anonymous.
Wait, that was a letter? I thought you were just talking.
I'm not sure where that started. What did they... I think you still
Has this
got...
whole thing been a viewer letter?
Hold on. Who wrote it?
That's all
I
the
guess
time we
I'll
have for
never know.
cold ones. Thanks for tuning in. We crack them open.
You drink You don't gotta be rough with it, geez. It's French. That's why we picked it up.